Oh, I can scoot back too. Is this my microphone? Did you steal my microphone?
There's
You stole my microphone. I don't know where this came from.
Wait, what?
Why is it so low?
It just dropped. I don't know.
Dropped. My mic dropped.
Mic drop.
We were just using this today. I have no idea why on earth it would be so low. Who knew my voice could be this low? I don't know if anybody's seen Wish, but we love that movie.
That is a great movie.
And the little goat is adorable.
Yeah. Maybe you're just not tightening it enough. I don't know. It keeps falling.
I shall be stronger.
Hey, everyone. If anyone is out there, unfortunately, a couple of us in the family are feeling a little sick. One of those being me. So we're going to cut this one just a little bit shorter and try to muddle through it for a half hour and then go take care of the kiddos that are sick as well. So
yeah, our little boy's been sick for days. Like it's been since Friday. He woke up with a fever Friday. It's Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and then we were hoping that he's feeling a little bit better last night, and so we were like, oh, he'll probably be able to go to school today. And woke up and he was not doing well and has been like sleeping most of today. It's been so sad. Both of my boys have been sick.
It's been a rough go at it, but we're getting better. We're good.
Yeah,
we are good. Wow, I feel like the picture is really interesting right here.
It just looks really dark. Well, I can't see my face. We have like our camera sits in front of our monitor instead of being like above it so that we're at eye level. But that also means that like when we're recording or talking and stuff, I can't ever see. It's always right in front of my face. I can always see Sam's face, but I have no idea like what my hair looks like. And the more I move, it doesn't help. So fun facts.
If anybody has any questions, put them down here. We'll be watching the chat, but I wonder if we should just drop that back to where it was.
It was the same.
There's always the game of trying to figure out where to put the camera.
Yeah. Unfortunately, someday we want a setup where it can just like stay.
Yeah.
It's just always there.
Could be those fancy people
have a studio.
A set camera. Yeah.
Yeah. But for right now, this works. It gets the job done. We're just, a little home office. But someday.
It works. Yeah.
Someday, maybe. But yeah, it's just been crazy. I feel like getting back to real life this week. I wasn't ready. We need like another week. We need another week between the holidays, like between New Year's and then real life. There needs to be 1 week where everybody just gets off and we just sit. Of course, then we'd fill it up with fun things and then we'd need another week and then we could just continue that.
We don't do the sitting thing. So every chance we get, we are off doing something fun. Thanks to this one. She likes to always be planning something.
He is welcome. He would be so sad and so bored in his life without me.
That's true. That's true.
Yes, I do make sure that we prioritize Disney trips. That's where we were on New Year's. We were at Disneyland. And yeah, it's true. I guess I wouldn't be able to have just a week off. It wouldn't really work. Hi, William.
Hey, William. You made it.
Welcome.
As I mentioned earlier, I'm not feeling well, and we have our little boy that's not feeling well. So we're going to cut this one just a little bit short. Sorry about that. Something came over us, and
I know this morning. Hi, Elise.
Hey, Elise.
Yeah, just this morning, Sam. I mean, our little boy's been feeling bad for days now, since last Friday, and he just can't kick it. And then this morning, Sam woke up and he's like, I'm fine. Yeah. And no, he is on Dayquil and nasal sprays and anything to.
I was fine until I stood up, and then everything tried to drain out of my system, and never ending.
Yeah.
But it's all good though. We're getting better. We'll make it through it.
Yep. Hopefully here fast.
How was your holiday breaks? How was we just had a very busy one. We took the kids to Disneyland, and we did something else too. There were a couple things we did, but we were very busy.
Yeah.
And we hosted Thanksgiving.
I feel like it all blends together from Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Because my family does Christmas so that everybody can be at home with their own little families on Christmas. So we had Christmas, and we were hosting the Thanksgiving portion of that, and then we went over to my parents' house for Christmas. So it was like from Thanksgiving onward is like one big blur.
Yeah.
Because it was like all the family was in town for that whole week. Then it's like the very end of school. You got super, super sick.
Yeah.
And then it
Second
was
time, yeah.
Christmas, and we had family in town for Christmas. And then we went to Disneyland for New Year's. And now we're trying to get back to normal life. And then our little boy's sick. It's just been crazy.
A
But
lot.
Elise
Thank you
says,
for saying that,
"Aw,
Elise. Thank you.
yeah. Are you close enough to Disneyland? You can drive, or do you fly? We drive. It's only
Yes.
4.5 hour drive.
That is
So
one very convenient thing about living in Las Vegas. We're not paying the California prices, but we have easy access to the California beaches and Disneyland and all of that.
yeah, which is super nice. It's fun to be able to get to theme parks so quickly. Like you said, just close enough and yet far enough away from California at the same time. There's a lot of desert between here and the fun stuff in California, but
yeah, the drive isn't the most beautiful drive, but it's interesting because we live in a very hot place, but going from here to like Disneyland and LA and all of that, we go through a couple cities that I believe are even just as hot or even hotter.
Yeah, the high desert, man.
Than
their
here
heat
in Vegas.
Is crazy.
Yeah. So it's crazy. You don't think of California as being desert. At least I don't, but there's a lot of it.
But before you get to the coast, there's a lot that we drive through. But yeah, it's a good drive. Oh, excuse me. See, now I'm yawning too. This light every time.
No, in your defense, Melissa has been taking care of us. I feel like I've been sick a lot lately. And so she's been night and day up taking care of us and doing everything for us. And so she's probably actually very tired because of everything you've been doing.
You're so sweet.
Keeping the house going and everything involved with running a family. So thank you.
Thanks, babe.
But
Elise says, Sam, have any more of your siblings left the FLDS since the last time you talked about them? I was wondering if you got to see any more of them over the holidays.
So over these holidays, we didn't really spend any time up where most of my siblings live that left the church. So I didn't get to see any of them, but I did talk to multiple of them. And yes, I don't remember when we last spoke about siblings leaving. The last one of my siblings that left actually
It'll be your sister, right?
was not that long ago. Do you recall? Just maybe a few months. I had a sister that left. Yeah.
No, it's been longer than you think.
Has it
It's
been
almost
longer?
a year now.
Has it really?
Yeah, because
Wow.
she left and then now she's married. She left, started dating, found someone. Yeah, married now. So I want to say it's been about a year. Yeah, because it was last Thanksgiving that everyone was talking about, like her possibly leaving or that she had just left.
That's true.
So,
she went through this process of leaving in general, and so that took some time. But
yeah.
yes, it's been, I guess
So
you're
the
right,
count is up by
almost a
1 in the
year.
last year. And yes, Elise, about half. So it was 15. I think his sister that left this last year would make 16. He did have 2 nephews, 2 boys from his oldest brother.
Full-blooded brother, yeah.
Yeah, oldest full-blooded brother that also left in the last year. So
they are trickling out, and I think that as more leave, it will become more popular to leave. My mother's, I guess I could say my full-blooded sisters are still all hanging on.
yeah.
So all of my sisters that have left are half sisters. And I guess I shouldn't be surprised with the way that my mother is. She's probably convinced all of my full-blooded sisters that leaving is just out of the question. So we'll see if any of them ever leave. My mother is still very much involved and very strong in it all. And the same with my father. So we'll see. It's hard to say. I know that Warren Jeffs is doing things still from his prison cell that are convincing the members that still believe in him to continue believing. I've heard recently that he's said a few things that have convinced them to believe in him even more, and that the times are very short. And I don't know, there's always something that he's doing, another tactic to keep them following and being obedient to him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of your brothers did talk to another sister that was in or something, or ran into her as well, right?
I'm sorry, one of my full-blooded sisters?
Yeah.
Yes. So I do have a full-blooded sister that is, I guess there's questions about whether or not she believes fully, but she is still in it.
Yeah.
if that makes sense. Whether or not she is only in it physically and mentally she's out, that's unclear. But yeah, there is one of my full-blooded sisters that, well, actually two of my full-blooded sisters that I'm not sure about, but I haven't personally been able to talk to them. So I just don't know for sure.
But hopefully we can cross our fingers that this next year,
Yeah.
those who are getting closer to leaving might actually do it. So we'll
Yeah.
hope for those sisters. Elise says it's so crazy that he can still be influencing people after being in prison almost 20 years. Right? Isn't it wild? Like, it'll be 20 years next year that he'll have been in
Yeah.
prison. And I mean, he'll have been a prophet in prison, well, way longer than what he was out of prison.
Oh, way.
He was only a
yes.
prophet for what, 4 years before?
2000. Well,
Was it 2002?
2002. I believe
To
so.
2006,
Yes.
right?
2006 is when they caught him. Yep.
There we go. Now I can see the chat better. Yeah, crazy. William says there was one of your brothers on the same job that he was on a few months ago. Marv told me he gave him Parley's number.
Oh, wow.
Oh, wow. That's awesome. Hopefully he reaches out to
Interesting.
Parley then.
Yeah, if anyone that is still in the group, if they reach out to one of my siblings, generally I hear about it.
Yeah.
that somebody is being reached out to, and so if he does reach out to Parley, then hopefully I hear about that soon. I'm very curious. I do know, and this is something that's so interesting to me because they're not supposed to have the internet and they're not supposed to, watch TV and different things like that. But I do see some of, at least I believe, it seems as though they are my full-blooded, or not full-blooded, but just some of my siblings that are on social media platforms.
Yeah.
But they
I've seen their names pop up on my
Yeah.
Facebook feed and stuff.
But they're not really posting anything. I just see a profile picture.
Yeah.
And so I'm not sure exactly what's going on, if they're just creating accounts just so that they can kind of, see what's going on out there in this world. But
yeah, they might be trying to look up their siblings, honestly.
yeah. So I've been, the ones that seem like an actual account, I've been trying to, follow and like, and at least
Adam.
give them the opportunity to reach out to me if they ever feel that they are in that position that they can.
Yeah, but if your brother asked for Parley's number or was able to get Parley's number, that's always a good sign too, because a lot of times as soon as they get one person's number, then they can kind of reach out and ask for other people's numbers, and it kind of starts that train. So that's always nice to hear. Elise says they probably are. That's how some of the Black kids were able to get out, right?
Oh, yes.
Yep.
Exactly. In fact, it was, and I'm spacing on her name right now, but we interviewed her. She was able to make that phone call, or she was able to find someone's number through social media.
Oh, yeah. One of the Black daughters.
Yes. She wasn't supposed to have a phone, but she went and got one. Yeah. So I know a lot of that is happening. And now that it's so common to have internet on our smartphones, back in the day when I moved out, we were still using flip phones that didn't have the internet on them. And so it was a little bit more difficult to get access to the outside world than it is now.
Yeah, for sure. But now, yeah, and like you said, it's definitely getting more of like a web of people. Like as soon as, if Parley gets reached out to, then he'll probably call you and be like, hey, did you hear so-and-so?
Yeah.
And it can kind of trickle through and people can reach back out. But
it is nice that now for my siblings and so many other people, there's so many of us that they can reach out to, and there's places they can go for help. Unlike, when I moved out, there was only a few of my older siblings that had moved out, my older brothers, and, they were kind of scattered around. So
did you reach out to them when you left?
I did. Yep. And I was able to see them. But, one was living on this side of the country and the other on that side of the country. And so I got to see them, but I didn't really go live with them, if that makes sense. I tried to, well, I left with one of my brothers too.
Yeah.
So the two of us just tried to,
stick
together and create a life for ourselves. And we didn't want to be a burden on our older brothers either. We didn't want to just show up and say, hey, take care of us. But we did have them to talk with and to at least ask questions or just say hi and feel that we had that support.
Isn't it funny that when it's something for yourself, you feel like it's a burden, and yet when your siblings reach out, it doesn't feel like a burden at all, right? We're like more than happy to have them with us, happy to help, happy to do whatever we can. But whenever, I feel like that's just so common. When it's you that needs it, then it feels like, oh my gosh, I'm going to burden someone, or I don't want to make them do that for me. I feel like it's easier to help people than to be open to getting help.
That's true. It's
especially
true.
at 18 years old.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And at 18, I felt like I was going to, and I felt like I could do anything and that I knew everything and I was able to just, leave and figure it all out. Very soon thereafter, I was humbled. Let's just say that. I was very humbled and put in my place that I did not know everything. But yes, I think that because I left with one of my brothers, we were able to stick together for the first few months and just really have each other to lean on and be able to figure it out. But yeah, it's tough though, and everyone is in a different position too, and especially the females that leave these types of groups, not just the FLDS, but in a lot of cases they have a more difficult time because they don't have the experience to make money and to survive on the outside.
Yeah, the same way the guys do, where they at least leave with some kind of skill or trade or something that they can.
Just basing it off of what I've seen with my sisters, it's been challenging, but I bet some of my sisters have been able to really, make a good life out here. So it's been very impressive to see what they overcame and where they are today.
Yeah, definitely. It's definitely possible. It just depends on how hard people are willing to work at it when they go. And then obviously having good resources or having siblings, because all your sisters that left after you. And
yes.
Yeah. And so they had you to call and help them with some of the things. Like I know your one sister, Sam just took her and dropped her off to go get her GED and was like, here you go. Go in, take that test and pass it. And so
Which she did. She did. She's very smart. Yeah, she did. And I knew that I had done it, so I knew she could do it.
Yeah.
And she did. Honestly, she's smarter than me, especially when it comes to things like math. It clicks in her brain better than it clicks in mine. And she was able to go and without much study, she was able to go and pass the test. Yeah. So she has her GED and that's helped her a lot.
Yeah.
In her future. So
Elise says, I'd love to see you to interview some of your friends or siblings who've left and moved either away from religion or to a different faith or church. Everyone's faith journey is so interesting. Yeah, I think a lot of Sam's family, like when we first started the channel, there were a lot of people who were like, absolutely not. Like, we want to kind of leave the past in the past. We don't want to talk about it like publicly. And I feel like now people are starting to come around. It's been like, like 4.5 years since we started the channel. And I think now he's starting to have siblings who would, I don't know, that we could reach out to.
Yeah, definitely. We don't want to pressure them, but I feel that if it comes up naturally, then yes, we definitely would invite any of them to come on our show. But it's just one of those where one of my siblings actually was kind of offended that we started this channel at all in our podcast. He was offended that we did it because I honestly don't really fully understand. He said something along the lines of what you remember is probably going to be different than what someone else remembers. And I don't understand why that's a bad thing. Right.
Yeah, I don't understand either.
But anyway, so there's that side of it. And then there's other siblings that are super proud of us and think that it's amazing that we're speaking out about these things. And then there's other ones that just are not willing, or at least not at this time able to, or at least they don't feel ready to speak publicly about their experiences.
He has some siblings that are like, all I do is try to forget about anything that ever happened in there all the time. And so I don't want to talk about it. They're like, we're glad that you guys are doing that, but we don't want to, like, I don't want to watch it. I don't want to hear about it. All it does is bring up painful memories or trauma. And so they're just like not interested in doing that. So I think there's definitely, like I said, I think there's a few that maybe here in the next year or so might be open to talking and sharing some of their experiences. But there's others that we definitely wouldn't push in. Like, we don't want to push anybody, but there's definitely some who I don't think would ever want to. Right. And then there's the maybes, and then the ones who are warming up to it.
Yeah, it's interesting. Everybody is on a different journey, that's for sure. And even us, honestly, when I first left the FLDS church, I remember coming out and there were a few people that reached out to me, and maybe this is why I feel the need to never pressure anyone, but a few people reached out to me about speaking on a news broadcast or something about my experience. And I always said no. I always said, and I was convinced that I would never speak publicly about it, because in my mind, I thought that if I did go on some show or news, then they would twist my words and make me sound like I was saying something that I didn't mean.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason for that is because I was taught growing up that that's what the outside world did. And that's why they would paint this bad picture on of the FLDS people, saying that they are these bad people, because they would twist the words and twist the documents or whatever and fabricate things to make it seem that it wasn't the case.
Yeah.
So it took a while to trust. And then, of course, now that we do it ourselves, that changes.
I was just going to say, I don't even know if we have to trust anymore, because since with YouTube, we do have the power to control the narrative, and we try so that when people share their stories as well, we've had people like the Black family who have been interviewed other times, and they were like, when we did our interview with you and you guys didn't twist anything and you just let us tell our story like purely, that meant a lot to them. And that's why we did multiple of their family members, because it was, some people, it's healing for them to share their story, but they want to feel like they're actually heard and that they're not, their story's not manipulated. And so that totally makes sense.
Right. But yes, so I say that because I am sure that a lot of these people that we could interview are just still afraid of that idea that things could be changed and that we could switch their words somehow, even though of course we would never do that. But
yeah, at least as that makes sense. They probably need space to heal and are probably still figuring things out for themselves. Yeah, absolutely. And that just looks so different for each person. You can watch, I mean, it's so apparent just even knowing and seeing his siblings when we are getting together once or twice a year with them, and you can just kind of like see their journey unfolding, from siblings that have said, when they first left and lived with us, oh, I'm never going to take off my prairie dress, I'm never going to take out my braid, and watching them slowly deconstruct their religious beliefs, deconstruct what they like, their morals, their standards, and realize what they think is okay and learning for themselves. So it's cool to get to witness that, and hopefully we'll get to share some of those type of stories with YouTube at some point. But if not, it's still like a cool honor to get to watch people go through that.
Right, for sure.
William says, I dug in pretty deep trying to figure out what happens, and what I was taught and believe and what Warren and other church leaders were doing is two different things.
Yes. So, and that's something that, man, I think I've heard this so many times from people that have left, that one of their, and even people that are a part of Warren Jeff's family, his personal family, that they just got to a point where they felt like the way that that they were raised and the teachings that they were taught from the scriptures and things were becoming more and more separated from the direction the church was going. And they reached a point where they just realized this isn't anything that we were taught how we should live our lives.
Yeah, it's tough in those situations too, figuring out like what's the baby and what's the bathwater, right? Like what parts, at least for us, like deconstructing, it's hard to take moments and say, okay, how much of this is like, do I still believe these different doctrines? Like I still believe those and I just don't believe the person that's telling me about them. Do I not believe any of it because that person was lying? So I think that's also like an interesting personal journey everybody has to figure out for themselves, is what parts like do you still believe and hold on to, or what parts do you let go of, or do you hold on to everything or let go of everything? And that is what can be so personal.
Yeah, it's tricky, especially when, and once again, it's one of those things where my family doesn't believe that Warren Jeffs did all of these things that he has been convicted of, and that we know that he did. There's so much evidence out there now. But once again, if you're still in it and you still believe in him, you're still believing that narrative that everything's being fabricated, that all of this information is just false information, and that it's Satan trying to work against the church and all of that. And that's where a lot of my family, including my parents, stand. They just don't believe that he did any of these things. It's not that they are wanting to choose to follow a pedophile or someone like that. It's just they don't believe that he is that.
Yeah. And that's hard because when someone has their beliefs based on emotion and isn't willing to look at facts, I mean, facts, they're not going to change someone's mind if they choose to not believe them.
Right.
Like, it doesn't matter how factual, it doesn't matter what kind of proof. If they have decided that that's not what they're going to believe, then that's not what they're going to believe. So it's tough to watch people choose to ignore all the facts, but there's only so much you can do. But
sorry.
No, you're fine. You poor.
I've got this. I can do this.
You're good.
This has been quite the day.
We do have some other exciting interviews though coming up. I don't know if you guys saw last week when we did the reaction to the 2x2 church, and we had the main girl Sherry from that reach out, and we just did an interview with her today that'll be coming out on Saturday, and that's really interesting because there are a lot of similarities to the manipulation, control, very secretive type things. So we do, I don't know how many friends and families we're going to have this year, but we do plan on having a lot more interviews this year is a goal that we have of doing like at least one interview a month is our goal.
It's looking good so far.
And it's looking
good. A lot of people that are wanting to be interviewed. So this is going to be an interesting year. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, me too. It's going to be a lot of fun. We're excited to keep spreading awareness, and it's going to be good to hear these different stories.
Do you know, Elisa, do you know what other things Warren is doing from prison? Well, the main things is he's just sending instructions, what he is calling revelations.
Mm-hmm.
He's still doing that and telling people what they are allowed to do, what they should and shouldn't do. Also, and telling people to prepare for the end, basically, which has been from the beginning. That's the way that they keep people in line, is to use this fear that the end is near, and that if they don't live a certain way, that they will be destroyed. So the main thing is just still sending messages from his prison cell to the leader, or to the, I guess, the higher up people in the church to spread out. If people go back and forth on whether or not his son Helaman is running his own show, but it seems like, based on what I've heard, that Warren Jeffs writes these things down, writes these revelations down, gives them to someone, which then ends up in Helaman's hands, and then Helaman sends them out to the faithful followers. So that's as much as I know for now.
And according to his revelations from like 2 years ago, like the end is supposed to be in like what, 2027? Like we're a couple years out.
2028, I believe.
When he said it was 5 years, and that was in
5.5 years when it came out.
So beginning of 2028.
Yeah.
So as the times are getting closer, hopefully there'll be a big group that when that doesn't happen in 2028, more people will recognize. We'll see.
Isn't he up for parole in 2028?
I thought it was 32.
Okay,
I'll look it up
maybe
right
I'm
now.
getting the two dates, because I know that 2028 is something, and I think you're probably right. That's probably when he said the end was coming, and then there's another time when he's up for parole. Okay, which, with everything still out against him, I've had people that still follow him ask me recently if I believe that there's any chance he gets out of prison anytime soon. And
okay, let's see.
Yeah, Elise, exactly.
Warren is gonna be
most people are with you, Elise, saying, "Wait, what? He's going to be up for parole?"
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I'm trying to see when...
Yeah, because he has like multiple, at least 2 life sentences against him. So I don't understand this either. But there are still a lot of things that are being still finalized in the courts against him. So who knows what else is going to come up that is not going to allow him to be on some kind of parole.
Yes, while I'm looking.
I don't have my glasses.
William says, now that the dust has been settling, I find I'm still a fundamentalist at heart. Didn't realize it until recently. There's a lot of independent fundamentalists. There are a lot of independent fundamentalists, William, especially within Utah and surrounding states. I feel like there's becoming more and more, not only from people leaving like the FLDS and other polygamous groups, but I know a lot from the mainstream Mormon church continues to be progressive and continues to make a lot of changes to their policies along with their doctrine. And the more that they push progressive ideals and changes, people tend to look back on the fundamentals and then they become fundamentalists. So it's very common, I feel like, in Utah right now.
Specifically Utah, yes. And that is people that are leaving the mainstream LDS church. It's people that are leaving the other groups, the shoot off groups from the mainstream. There's all kinds. There are, how many groups did we find out? There's
like 30 to 40,000 polygamists in Utah.
And there's hundreds.
I thought it was over 75.
Was it 75?
Yeah.
Okay. I thought it was close to or over 100. But yes, a very high number of groups that actually are fundamentalists that still, in most cases, practice polygamy and these different things in just Utah alone. So it's quite a few.
Okay. He will be eligible for parole July 22nd of 2038.
38.
Not 28, 38.
That's why 8 was in my mind. Okay.
Yep.
Okay, so that's still a long time.
We got a ways.
Honestly, whether or not he lives to be that long, I don't know. Especially because we've been told recently, well, I guess this has been a while back that we were told that as soon as these hearings against him and everything is settled in the courts, that they are considering releasing him into general population within the prison. And if that happens, a lot of people are under the impression that he would not last very long.
Yeah.
So
pedophiles don't last very long in prison. So
yeah. So we'll see. I don't know. We'll see if that happens before 2038.
Okay, but now, so that's so much further after the end of the world. So according to him, right? So I'm very, very curious to see what happens in 28 and seeing what his followers do or do not believe, or is he gonna, I mean, because he was hinting at mass suicide and translations and all sorts of crazy stuff. And so it's gonna be, I don't know. I think we'll have a lot to cover over these next couple of years leading up to that. And hopefully we don't have anything devastating to cover.
The interesting thing about him, about Warren, is that he actually believes that he is powerful. He actually believes it. Like, it's crazy. He, even when he was first caught, he wanted to represent himself because he actually believed that God was on his side and that he would give him the words to say to
be a lawyer,
to put the people in their place and to scare them. And he would even try to give people these looks that he thought, because these looks worked when he gave these looks to people within the FLDS church because we were afraid of him. He would give people looks that would literally make them afraid because he would just stare at them and pretend that he was seeing into their soul. And then people would be afraid of him. And he even tried that in his trials. He would try to stare at people, and those people that were speaking against him, he would stare at them and give them this look, thinking that there would be some kind of godlike power that would make them tremble in their boots, right? So he definitely is off his rocker. Let's just say that he believes it. He actually does, and that's even more terrifying.
Yeah, Elise said I want a video from in that courtroom.
With those looks. I know.
Oh.
So Elise Wall was one of them that he did that to. He tried to just use those eyes.
And she said she was stared back at him.
Yeah. Yes, and that was one of her big moments in her overcoming her past, was that ability to just be able to stare back at him and say, no, your look is not going to work on me this time.
Yeah. And unfortunately, he doesn't realize that the outsiders and people that don't know anything about him are just looking at him like he's a crazy guy. They're like, why are you staring at us like that? And there's no impact if it doesn't have the deep-rooted, ingrained fear at all, you know?
Right.
When she was a little girl, right?
Yes. Well.
She got married when she was a young girl. She prosecuted against him when she was in her early 20s, I want to say, and was married to somebody else.
She wasn't a super. It took her a long time to get that courage. Well, and it was also when they finally caught him too. She had already left the church before they caught him.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So,
but it wasn't. They wouldn't have been able to try to catch him to begin with if it wasn't for her. So she's pretty amazing that way. But yeah, she was only like 14 when she was forced to marry her cousin that she hated. So, yep, super sad. But she had left and was married before they finally caught him and were able to do that trial. So at least she was old enough to have that extra sense of courage, I think, at that point and be willing to do that. Elise says, I'm thinking of another girl named Elise. How are there so many of us who you interviewed?
It's a good name.
Elise Dockstader.
Oh, Elise Dockstader was another. Yes, it was.
But she was married to Lyle, wasn't she?
No,
Nope.
that's another
Oh
one.
no,
We
that's
also had Lyle Jeff's first
you're right.
wife on here as well. Elise
Yes.
Dockstader was the one with
You're
the
right.
clock story that Warren Jeffs
Yep.
kept holding over her head. The
Yes.
lengths that he would go to try to show that he was in control. Wow, it's next level.
Yeah, like how is someone how was he not too busy to be trying to deal with that kind of stuff?
Yeah.
Like trying to do those type of things just to hurt
Yeah.
and manipulate people.
I think
It's
that,
beyond me.
yeah, he would have to have this very strange ability to be able to focus on 1,000 different things at once.
Yeah.
I mean, I try to focus on 2 things at once and I get confused. So he would have to, though, to be able
Yeah.
to keep so many people under his thumb and for so long without forgetting about it. It's just scary, scary, scary.
Crazy, crazy. It seemed like he singled people out who could be trouble and focused on intimidating them. Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah.
Anybody
Yeah.
that needed to be broken in his mind and then he kicked out anybody else who could threaten his power. So hopefully, I mean, hopefully more and more of the church crumbles when the end of the world doesn't happen in 28 so that he no longer has power
Oh,
while he
man.
sits in prison for the
This'll
10 years
be
after that.
This will be number what, like 5 or 6
Of the end of the
of the
world.
end of the worlds that never happened.
Yep.
But then again, it'll be blamed on the members. They weren't righteous and ready enough.
Of
So
course. Of course.
those darn members, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Well, our time is up. Sorry once again for cutting this short today. We just need to get down to our coughing boy, and I think I reached my end as well. But thank you so much, Elise and William, for being on here with us, and I hope we answered all of your questions.
Yes, we're excited for this year. Hopefully we'll get you lots of good interviews, and thanks for always being here, you guys. It's always fun to hop on here every month and chat with you too.
Yes. Thank you all. Have a good
Thanks,
night.
Elise.
Thank you.
Yes,
Yes.
she says, hope you feel better.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that.
We'll talk to you guys later.
Talk to you later.
Bye.